It's time to cut to the chase with my buddy Kevin Weeks. Weeksy, here's a statement today. The Florida Panthers have got zero chance of coming back to win the Stanley Cup this year. The Vegas Golden Knights are en route to claiming the first cup in franchise history. Cut to the chase, Kevin. What do you think of the statement?
Come on, Gino. Are you just handing out free victories? They got to win two more of the Vegas Golden Knights. It's the first to four. Yes, they're currently at 14, but they got to win four. They got to win two more. I'll say this: this Florida Panther team was able to slay the dragon that is the Boston Bruins, that had the best regular season in NHL history in over 100 years. So are the Florida Panthers down? Yes. Are they out? No. Can they come back? I certainly think they have enough to be able to mount a comeback.
You know what the Boston Bruins didn't have, Weeksy? Giants on the blue line. Haig 6'6", Pietrangelo 6'3", McNabb 6'4". This is a vastly different decor that Florida is trying to crack. And right now, just 2 goals in each of the first 2 games of the Cup final. They can't beat these guys, Kevin.
Here's the thing for me with the Florida Panthers. They got to stay out of the box. They need to be disciplined. We spoke about it numerous times right prior to the Stanley Cup final. Stay out of the box, number one. Number two, box out in front of Sergei Bobrovsky to allow him to be able to see the puck. And lastly, number three, don't keep searching for the perfect play. They aren't there. You've got to be able to take some shots from the point, some shots from the perimeter. Some of the shots you don't want to take, shoot to create. You don't always have to shoot to score. And the Vegas Golden Knights have done a great job of doing both of those things to this point.
All right, let's break down those points that you just made. You brought it up, Bobrovsky. They need to be able to protect Bobrovsky a little bit better. Bob gave up 6 goals total in the conference final. He's given up 8 goals in the first 2 games of this series. Is Bob done? Is Bob just back to the Bob that they gave up during the regular season stretch when they were just trying to make the playoffs? Has his bubble burst?
No, his bubble has not burst at all. The Vegas Golden Knights, from speaking to people in their group, prior to the Cup final, this was one thing they were really intent on doing offensively, getting to the net and establishing net front traffic in front of Bobrovsky. The Vegas Golden Knights have done an amazing job of that so far, which is why I come back to the fact the onus now is on the Florida defenders. They can't be providing double and triple layer screens in front of Bobrovsky, and they're, hey, sir, you got, oh, no, it's in the net. They can't do that anymore. They need to do a better job of getting to position first, getting underneath the sticks of the opposing forwards of the Vegas Golden Knights, and allowing a clear line of sight for Sergei Bobrovsky to be able to see shots.
But in order to do that, you got to create some traffic. To create some traffic, you got to take some penalties, and they're getting killed right now. Florida's taken 130 penalty minutes through the first 2 games of the series. Matthew Tkachuk, on his own, has already taken 36 PIMs through games 1 and 2. Is Tkachuk losing what makes Tkachuk the player that he is, his ability to get away with stuff right now? Is the frustration just getting to him and he's becoming ineffective?
The biggest thing for me with all the penalties that Matthew Tkachuk has taken, the head scratcher is the one for delivering the clean check rather on Jack Eichel. That was a clean hit. And Jack Eichel ran out of racetrack. He said it himself post-game. He kind of lost his footing and slipped and let himself into the hit. That, for being assessed a 10-minute, I don't understand that one. But I would say this. Here's my bigger thing for Matthew Tkachuk and the Florida Panthers. You need quick touches offensively with every round that goes along in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And when you get to the final, you can't be dusting pucks off like you're down at Christie Pitts in the winter. It's got to be quick touches. 1 or 2 touch, bam, get to the net. 1 or 2 touch. I see these guys dusting it off, looking around. That's an offensive adjustment as well the Florida Panthers have to make, led by Matthew Tkachuk, because him and Sam Bennett make those plays down low, along with Nick Cousins, and they haven't been able to execute them because they're trying to overpass and over-finesse it. Less is more in the Stanley Cup final from the offensive standpoint.
All right, if they were going to turn this around, is there one thing above everything else that Florida's got to start doing that they haven't done so far, or do better and do more safely? I wonder about the physicality of the game. Can they remain physical? Because if they start backing off, I think then it is over very, very quickly.
No question. I think so far the Vegas Golden Knights have been playing football, and the Florida Panthers are playing broomball to this point. Now, all of that to say, the Florida Panthers, to me, it all comes down to the discipline. The discipline, that's gotten them where they've gotten. the discipline in defending, the discipline in making smart plays, not beating yourself, not forcing plays that aren't there, not taking inopportune penalties. The discipline in their game, Gene, has allowed them to go on this magical run alongside the Miami Heat down here in the NBA final. It's the discipline in the game. If the Florida Panthers are disciplined right from the opening puck drop, we could see a different version of them than we've seen in games 1 and 2 in the Stanley Cup final. And oh, by the way, here's the other thing. I know all the trainers and every team get Tim Hortons coffee. Each player should drink about 4 cups for the Panthers before the game. Bobrovsky's a goalie. He's kind of zen. Maybe he gets 1 cup. Everybody else, 4 cups of Timmy's before the game. They should come roaring. They should come roaring out of the gates for warm-up, and I'm looking to see that right from the opening puck drop. If they do that, they've got a shot.
You know who gets the roaring out of the gate is their head coach, Paul Maurice. This guy has been phenomenal for us in the media in terms of a soundbite. Yeah. We've had him mic'd up in the dressing room, seen the kind of motivational stuff he's been able to do. This series now shifts to Florida where he gets last change, and we have seen what he's been able to do with last change when he hits on home ice. How much of a factor do you think Paul Maurice can and needs to be to turn this thing around?
I think he can be a factor. I had the good pleasure of playing for him during our Stanley Cup run in 2002 with the Carolina Hurricanes. And I'd say this, imagine how long that's been from 02 to 23. That's how long it's been for Paul Maurice to get back to the Stanley Cup final. You never know once you get there if you'll ever get back again. I'm expecting him to go deep into the bag of tricks, pull everything out, try to manipulate some of those matchups, to your point, Gene, which make a lot of sense. Manipulate some of those matchups at home, on home ice at Florida Live Arena in Game 3, get the matchups that he wants. And by the way, he really is a good motivator. I'm looking for him to have that team supercharged, not only when they come out from the outset, but at different intervals in the game. I'm looking for him to be able to push some buttons. And if he's got to shorten the bench, he's got to shorten the bench. But I'm going to give you viewers one wrinkle. And you too, Gene, I'm going to let you in on it.
All right.
The injury to my man Radko Gudas really disrupted Florida in a lot of ways last game. He's their most physical player. He blocks shots. He's kind of a modern-day Ken Danico, a.k.a. Mr. Devil, my man Dano, Ken Danico, the Devil's legend, that won 3 Stanley Cups. He's kind of a modern version of Ken Danico. Doesn't fight as much, but he does a lot of those blue-collar things defensively that the Panthers need to if they want to get back in this series. I'm not sure if he's going to be available for Game 3, but that's why Paul Maurice had to dress 11 forwards and 7 defensemen last game to kind of insulate themselves in the event that Radko's injury kind of progressed, unfortunately. And we saw that by way of the hit by Barbashev to Gudas. So I'm curious to see if Radko Gudas can go. He's a big element of their back end.
All right, so that's what needs to happen for Florida to get back into the series. But here's what I will ask you. Now, week C in conclusion, what do you think happens? How does this play out?
I said coming into this, it's going to be Vegas in 6, and it had the potential to go 7. If you're asking me for a prediction here for tomorrow, Game 3, I'm going to say the Florida Panthers win that game 4-3.
All right. And you know what, week C? They have to, because if they go down 0-3, that's pretty much all she wrote. Because in the history of the Stanley Cup playoffs, only one team has ever come back from an 0-3 deficit in the Stanley Cup final, and that was the Leafs 81 years ago.